And it looks like we are indeed live, Petch. It is 4 o'clock exactly on Friday, the 12th of July, 2024. Thank you so much to everybody who is tuning in live right now on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on X, formerly Twitter, on Instagram as well. For those people who don't know us, my name is Ross. This is producer Petch. Together we run ActOnThis.tv, Act On This, the TV Actors Network. If you are an actor, if you want to work in TV, you actually want to earn money from your career, we sit down every single week with the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, and producers in TV, host private Zoom calls for our members. It's dirt cheap. It's £6.75 a week, the most value-packed membership on earth. You should become a part of it right now. Well, actually, after this session, you can go and get a membership now if you want, actonthis.tv. But equally, Petch, we go live multiple times a week to talk about hot topics. And boy, have we got a hot topic to talk about today. How are you feeling, Petch, end of the week before we get stuck in?
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, isn't it? I started off the week really positive, and then the more that the industry just releases stuff like this, the more I'm like, why?
Well, I am Mr. Sunshine. I am Mr. Positive. So we're going to put a positive spin on everything today, folks. And yeah, we've got lots to talk about. Obviously, you've seen the thumbnail of this video. We're talking equity, this class action that they have filed at the High Court with Spotlight. You know, we've done previous sessions on whether actors should be paying for Spotlight, Equity's stance on this, which is that Equity should not be able to, Spotlight should not be able to profit effectively from running the service, that actors shouldn't have to pay for their profiles, that the cost of that should actually go to producers and casting directors and other people within the industry. I do lean a certain way in this argument, but I will, when I put up some slides and show you, kind of both sides of the argument, I will try and be as impartial as I can be for the majority. I am open to everybody's opinions. The reason we do this live is I want your opinions. If you're here on YouTube particularly, or on LinkedIn, we still want your comments if you're on Instagram, but we can put your comments up on the screen if you're on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube, just go over right now while we are live, if it's still before 5:30 on Friday, the 12th of July. Go over to youtube.com/Act On This TV and come and get involved in the conversation, because I want lots of comments from people. Lots of opinions. I'm happy for my opinion to be changed. I'm going to give you some arguments for why I think a lot of this is madness, but equally I'm open to hearing from everybody here as well. Before we dive into the slides, Petch, we've got quite an in-depth presentation to put up on this, mate. Give us some shout-outs of some people. It's Friday afternoon. Let's at least start positive.
Here we go. So Rachel has said, hi, Ross and Petch.
All right, Rach, how you doing? Thanks for tuning in.
Yvonne, or Yvonne as I like to say it, says hello.
All right, Yvonne, good to see you.
And Act On This member Grace Blackman has said, really keen to hear your perspective, guys. It's a ruddy mess.
It's a right ruddy mess. It's kicking off royally, isn't there? I put out on X before, it's like shots have been fired. Like, you know, both sides are having a dig at each other. But I'm sure we can all act like adults, all come to a decent resolution in this. Like I say, I just think a lot of conflict in the world right now is completely unnecessary. It's like there's a lot of causes out there looking for a fight. I don't think we need one. I don't think we need any more fighting in the world. I think we just need some logical, not emotional discussion. So I'll start actually on that. Yeah, people need to realize when emotion is high, logic is low. And when logic is high, emotion is low. And it's always best to look at everything in the acting industry, your career, your relationship with your agent, your relationship with the industry on a whole, with Spotlight, with Equity. So much better to look at it logically rather than emotionally. And if you just read headlines, you will get emotional, because headlines are designed to spin you into, you know, a bit of a tiz, because then you're going to be glued to the content. There's a reason why I made the thumbnail today, like, you know, Spotlight versus Equity. I want an emotional response so people turn up and watch, but I am going to look at this logically today. So I've got some slides, Petch. I'm going to put them up on the screen. Let me see where they are. They're somewhere around here. Here they are, I think. Oh, and first things first, talk about a little bit of positivity. Let me take this graphic off the screen as well, get that out of the way. Let's reward everybody for being here. You're the first guys to find out about this. Anybody here looking for their first few TV jobs, whether that's your first job in the industry completely, you're fresh, you've never had a TV job, or say you've got less than 5 credits, you're looking for less than 5, you're looking for, you know, TV jobs, you've got less than 5 in your, on your Spotlight, if you remember the Spotlight already. we run a training once a year, completely free, 100% free. We're going to be running this, walking you through a strategy and a blueprint that ultimately I've used to land nearly 40 TV jobs in the industry. We've taken dozens of actors through this blueprint. They've now landed TV jobs. 2 people we took through this blueprint literally this week have landed jobs. 3 in it. 1 on Casualty. We had, Helen on Casualty. John landed a part on Malpractice, ITV's Malpractice season 2, and then Christina, she hasn't said what she's landed the role on. I don't think she can say yet, but 3 people basically have landed TV jobs through this blueprint. So we're running this training for free. If you go to actonthis.tv/training, it's happening on Saturday the 3rd of August, 10 a.m. in the morning till 11:30. We do it on a Saturday morning because hopefully more people can attend. I don't think I'm going to record it. I want people to turn up and get the rewards for being there live. I won't rule it out completely, but if you can be there, please go and get a place on this training now. If you go to actonthis.tv/training, what will happen? Fill your email address and it will send you a Zoom link literally right now. Keep that safe. And you'll get on the call, basically. My Zoom account can only hold 500 people, so we always end up with more than 500 registered. So try and jump on Zoom a little bit earlier than 10 a.m., maybe 10 to 10, something like that, just so you don't get locked out. But that's a little positivity to start with. A little bit of a thank you for coming and hanging out with us. actonthis.tv/training if you're looking for your first TV role, or you've got less than 5 in the bag and you're not quite sure of exactly how to tackle this industry just yet. So, Petch, here's that thumbnail I spoke about. Do you like that? It took me at least 20 minutes this morning, that. What do you think?
I think it's good. I think having an effect on you with the superhero stuff.
I know, I've gone Petch is like massive on Marvel, and I've gone all like cartoony, but yeah. Equity versus Spotlight. Before we really dive in, I said earlier we've spoken about some of this stuff before. We did do a live stream not long ago. You'll find on YouTube on our channel. If you just search for Act On This TV on YouTube, this one here, should actors pay for Spotlight? We're going to recap on a few things that was in that anyway. But if you want to sort of see our initial thoughts on all of this, go and check that video after this. So yesterday, Petch, I got this email. You probably got it as well, mate. I am sure.
I did.
It was from Equity. I was like, what's going on here then? A little bit of excitement. I'm going to share the actual full email with you guys. So let me just find that in my email. I'll take that off the screen. And I'll share the actual email because I'm going to read it. A lot of people here might have just deleted that email. I get it. You get a load of emails and you're like, can't be bothered reading that. So I'm going to read it for you. Have you got that on your screen, Petch? Yeah?
We have, yeah.
It might be small, but don't worry. I will read it. It says, Dear Ross, yours will have obviously said whatever your name is. On Tuesday this week, your newly elected president, officers and council discussed the union's policy and approach to casting directories. This update comes after a decision of the previous council to change our campaigning and lobbying approach toward casting directories at the end of 2023. So they say casting directories like Spotlight charge the artists in the directory a fee for inclusion in the book. It's not been a book for a long time, but it's an online database, basically. In most industries, this practice of charging work seekers a fee, irrespective of whether they find work, is not legal. I'm not going to say anything on any of this yet, but parts of that I don't agree with at all. However, Spotlight... and here's a little dig, here's the shots that have been fired, who argue the law does not apply to them at all, and other directories enjoy a carve-out from the regulations governing employment agencies, which is specific to our industries and the professions of Equity members. So I'll talk about this employment clause later, but they're saying basically, look, there's this legislation in employment law that basically says that actors, performers, photographic models, they're exempt from this, what they're seeing as something that's unfair. Like they're exempt from they can pay effectively to be part of a directory like Spotlight. Under the law, Spotlight are doing nothing wrong at all. But Equity don't like that. So it says Equity has not opposed the carve-out historically, so they've not argued about this before, but in the face of mounting member concern about the cost and commercial practices of Spotlight and other directories, union policy is to lobby government and campaign to end this practice. It cannot be right that those who need work bear the cost of recruitment in our industries alone. For actors in particular, the perceived necessity of being included in Spotlight means that their hope for work comes at a cost. Here's the emotion, not the logic. This cost is a tax on that hope. So that's a really provocative line. Straight away, they're like, let's dig you in the emotions. They're taxing you on your hope. Our conversations with the Labour Party in opposition and in the early days in government are constructive in this regard as they seek to bring about a new deal for working people and improve rights at work. Now, I'm all for that. Nothing wrong with that. That's good. The current legislation and the carve-out for our industries does not give a blank check to casting directories to charge what they please. The relevant regulation explicitly states that the fee charged to the work seeker must amount to no more than a reasonable estimate of the costs of production and circulation of the publication attributable to the inclusion of information about that work seeker in the publication. So what they're saying there is basically, they believe that Spotlight should only charge a fee that covers their costs. They're basically saying you can't make any profit at all. You just have to charge a fee that's going to cover your costs. That's what we want to see. And we don't want any actors to pay for those costs. We want them to be paid by other people. So Spotlight is the most widely used casting directory, and Equity is not satisfied that they are meeting the above obligation. In simple terms, we believe Spotlight subscriptions charged to its members are above what the law... It's so interesting, isn't it? What the law reasonably allows. They're not doing anything wrong with the law. I'll show you in a minute. We wrote to Spotlight at the end of January this year to ask them to explain the rationale for their fees and show how they have calculated them in line with the above obligation. Spotlight replied dismissively in February, stating that they did not believe that they were an employment agency at all, and therefore the law did not apply to them or the business. Equity disagrees. We've spent the past few months fact-finding and taking further advice on this and other areas of the law. Equity's position remains unchanged. Therefore, this morning is the big news. Therefore, this morning, as many as eight Equity members filed papers at the High Court in a class action against Spotlight. We are seeking a declaration from a judge that the law and the relevant regulations do indeed apply to Spotlight. A successful judgment would mean that the court agrees that Spotlight must show that their rates of subscription to their members amount to no more than a reasonable estimate of the cost of production and distribution of their directory. We, of course, remain open to a dialogue with Spotlight and will work with them on issues of mutual concern to our members. We've continued to speak with senior staff at Spotlight throughout the year on matters unrelated to this case and believe that a spirit of constructive engagement is in Equity members' interest. Definitely, I agree with that, right? And I'm not got a big allegiance to both sides. I was on here criticising Spotlight last week for the poor timing of putting a slight increase in their fees. So some things I will defend on both sides, some things I won't. But it says, however, we consider that gatekeepers like Spotlight should continue to enjoy Spotlight should continue to enjoy an exemption from standard work findings legislation is unjust and unfair. Does that make sense? However, we consider that gatekeepers, like Spotlight, should continue to enjoy an exemption from standard work finding legislation is unjust and unfair. Yeah, it makes sense. Moreover, if we cannot be satisfied that Spotlight are keeping within the generous scope of the carve-out and Spotlight believes that they are beyond the scope of the law, then our members have no recourse except to the courts. This may be the beginning of a long process, and so we urge patience from members with the courts and inevitable bureaucracy which comes with class action. However, we are determined to hold Spotlight to account as an industry monopoly who are gatekeepers to work and in the long term in the business model of casting directories, which is a tax on hope altogether. And then they link to a page on Equity's website where you can look at some FAQs. I would recommend everybody goes and does that. If you've got this email, do click on that link at the bottom. If you've deleted it, I'll send it you. I might put it I might edit the show notes on this. I know where
it's on Equity's website.
It's on the main homepage. You can just click to it. Hopefully, rather than
you go to the equity.org.uk and then there's you scroll down a little bit. There's news articles there. It's there.
Wicked. Right, okay, so that's the email that we all got, and then it links to some FAQs. And I know I was razzing Equity a bit there by making it all dramatic and stuff, but there are points I agree with there. I'm definitely one for fairer legislation in the industry, fair pay, higher rates of pay, more investment in the industry. I feel that investment over the last couple of years, has waned, and I think Equity should be campaigning for more investment, particularly in certain parts of this country that always seem neglected. If you're outside Manchester or outside London, I feel you get a tough deal. But there's certain things in there I will just be transparent about that I think are absolute madness. Now, before you all kick off on me, and I know, as I say, emotions will be high because I completely get it. If someone says to any actor, hey, listen, we're going to do something where you'll probably get Spotlight for free. We're going to get producers to pay for it. We're going to get casting directors to pay for it. We'll get agents to pay for it. There's so many acts out there who'll just be like, what? free spotlight. Yeah, well, I'm all for it then. And I get it. People vote politically for parties selfishly. I've done this. I will look at parties in elections and go, which parties are going to benefit me, my friends, and my family and my loved ones the best? I mean, that's of course what we vote on. That's how it should be. You go, right, I'm going to vote for these people who, will improve what I think needs improving. So when you see an opportunity to maybe save money, get something for free, people will be all for it. But I'm gonna bring some more slides up. We're gonna sort of dissect what we just read there. We're gonna see Spotlight's viewpoint on this, and then I'm gonna sort of try and balance it out and show both sides of actually the reality of what would happen in this industry if suddenly none of us pay for Spotlight and it was all down to other people to pay for it on our behalf, or if Spotlight end up not being able to make any profit at all and suddenly disappear, what the hell we all do, and how the industry just suddenly would stop working, and so would we. But any thoughts on that initially, Petch, before I bring the slides back up?
I have thoughts, but no, let's continue.
But not for now. Okay. Otherwise, we'll just get off on a random one. This is probably going to be quite a long stream, folks, but I'm up for it.
Quickly, though, Gary Thomas Writer has said, be curious before angry.
Yeah, good one, Gary. Yeah, honestly, for me, whenever I see anything that's evocative and emotional, I'm like, right, hang on a minute. Before I jump to conclusions, I need to do my own research on this, because people often write headlines that will just make you feel one way because it's generally written in a biased format. So the main points from equity, just to recap there, I won't read it all, but it's basically casting directors like Spotlight charge the artists a fee to be included on the platform, and then in most industries, equity reckon that this isn't lawful. This isn't something that normally happens. You don't normally get charged to seek work, and they're saying that Spotlight enjoy this carve out. They call it basically this exemption, because the actual law says that for performers, for photographic models, I'll bring the law up in a minute, that they are exempt. So remember, Spotlight right now are genuinely doing nothing wrong. There's no legal basis for this. What equity want, and we'll look at later, is equity actually want to change the law. So they're not doing anything wrong yet. This is not a guilty till proven innocent situation. This is that point about fees. They say that the fee charged to the work seeker, i.e. us actors, must amount to no more than a reasonable estimate of the cost of production and circulation of the publication. So what they're saying there is we should be paying no more than it costs Spotlight to create the database of actors and run their business. It's almost like they want them to be a non-profit. You can't make any profit. You've just got to do it. I don't know, what do you do it for? For just the love of it? Because you love all actors and you want us all to work and earn more money than you? don't quite see right. And then that little bit there, it's in, this is a point of contention for me as well. It is in our members' interests that access to work is fair. Now that's fair. That's a good point. Access to work has to be fair, right? But this bit I don't get. The costs of doing so are borne by the bosses, the producers who are seeking to hire people. Again, don't throw me under the bus just yet. I'm gonna argue a fair point for why I don't agree with that. I don't believe that the cost of us as actors finding work should be borne by producers and casting directors and production companies. I will show you some massive inherent flaws in that model and why it wouldn't work. Does equity want to destroy Spotlight? This is one of the FAQs. On the front of it, they're saying no. I feel that they're trying to do a lot of damage. Equity wants to see Spotlight use the same model as equivalent services in other sectors. This could be charging employers or all casting directors to use the directory. Guys, you're talking a few hundred casting directors in the country. How can they pay for 90,000 of us? They'd all go out of business. There would be no casting directors, thus there would be no auditions, thus there would be no jobs. That's just madness. So first up, I want to show you that Spotlight aren't breaking any laws right now. And again, I'm not just sticking up for Spotlight. I came on here and criticised them last week. I am just trying to be fair and logical here. This is the Employment Agencies Act 1973. This is the legislation equity arguing on why, Spotlight are breaking the law. But they're not. It says here around fees. Employment agencies and businesses are prohibited from charging fees to workers for finding or trying to find them jobs. Exceptions to this are for finding jobs for performers and certain other workers in the entertainment field and photographic or fashion models. So even if Spotlight were classed as a employment business, and under this Employment Agencies Act 1973, they're still not breaking any laws right now. Okay, even if they were classed as that. But is Spotlight actually an employment an employment agency, or an employment business anyway? Are they, Petch? Are they actually an employment agency or an employment business anyway? Well, this is Spotlight's sake. I don't think so either. I think your agent is, but I don't think Spotlight are. So I'm gonna read Spotlight's stance on this. This is an update from Spotlight's managing director Matt Hood, who ironically 3 years ago was the deputy general secretary of Equity. So I don't think Matt's, unless he moved to Spotlight because he fell out with Equity, but Matt was at Spotlight. I keep getting mixed up. Matt was at Equity for I think 7 years.
If anybody knows, he knows, right?
He's going to know.
Knows the stance, yeah.
Yeah, he's gonna have a good understanding of both businesses and what's lawful and what isn't. If he's been at Equity for 7 years, he should know employment law around our industry. Now he's the managing director of Spotlight. So you can go and see this article on Spotlight's website. I'm going to bring it up now. And I am going to read it, you guys. I know I apologize that there's a lot of reading here, but I know people won't read, Petch. This is the dangerous thing in life. People are busy and they don't read things. They read the headline. Don't read the full article. So I am, if you could bear with me, please don't turn off. Because just like, God, he's droning on. I'm going to read you this article.
Read it in the best voiceover voice you've got.
I do a lot of voiceover, so I'll try and be entertaining for you. But it makes a lot of fair points. So this is an update from our managing director, and you can find this on Spotlight's news page. It's available to everybody. It says, on my desk in the Spotlight office proudly sits a bound collection of the first editions of the Spotlight Bulletin, the predecessor of our current newsletter, published just 2 years after the Spotlight, after Spotlight was founded. The editions date from 1929 to 1931 and cover in some detail the events leading up to the founding of the British Actors Equity Association, as well as the nascent union's drive to grow its membership. Spotlight was instrumental in helping establish the union, taking on Equity's early administrative tasks whilst it earned enough revenue to support itself. So Spotlight been there for Equity from the start. Out of that early assistance grew a lasting partnership between Spotlight and Equity, a collaboration that has lasted over 9 decades and has promoted the professional interests of our shared membership. For the last 2 decades, I've had the privilege of sitting on both sides of that partnership. The first 17 years at Equity, latterly as Deputy General Secretary, and the past 3 as Managing Director of Spotlight. Given this long partnership, you will appreciate our surprise and disappointment when Equity began a campaign of deliberate misinformation against Spotlight. Spotlight's core business model has not changed for almost a century. We offer advertising services for self-employed professionals looking for work as performers, and we promote that directory of professionals to those looking to hire performers. Casting professionals around the world use Spotlight to search, list, and share potential talent across their working lives. It is the breadth and depth of our directory that ensures all eyes are on Spotlight when it comes to identifying talent. It is the opposite to a producer's narrower private database of talent, with the Spotlight directory being one of the most significant factors in UK talent, making a global impact over the past century. We offer performers the most efficient and cost-effective means of advertising your skills and availability in the market. As a valid business cost, your Spotlight fee is an allowable expense which can be deducted from your taxable income. So can Act On This, folks. If you've got an Act On This membership, get in the members area, download your invoice, and you can offset it against your tax. So it says there, not only is the annual cost of a Spotlight subscription cheaper before tax than Equity's, but modest price rises have kept our fee increases 9% below the rate of inflation since 2010, meaning a cut in real terms despite increased investment in the service we provide. Over the same period, by contrast, Equity subscriptions have risen by 9% above inflation. And importantly, it is your choice. If you feel confident that you can market your talent more effectively without using Spotlight, you are entirely free to do so. It is our job to continue to deliver the value in your subscription to earn your renewal. So we'll make a point on that. You really don't have to be on Spotlight to find work as an actor. You absolutely don't. I know it's 100% within your interest to be on it, but there's lots of members of Act On This who come to us new, Petch, who aren't on Spotlight for a year. And we, back when Spotlight was actually 4 credits to get on it, 4 credits that were decent credits in order to actually be able to get on Spotlight, we would work with actors for 12 months generally to get them 4 credits. And they'd do it all without being on Spotlight. So you can find work without being on Spotlight. It's not like they've got a gun to your head and going, if you're not on Spotlight, you can't be an actor. Yeah, you're going to get more opportunity. But like, there is other ways to get it. It's not mandatory. Were you going to say something there, Petch?
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you quickly before you move on, just on that section for the layman's of us out there who aren't math savvy or business savvy. Can you explain what the difference is between the rate of inflation below 9% below and 9% above, and why is it cheaper than equity? Just a quick outline on that.
So basically, inflation. I mean, God, inflation has been at times this year insane, up at around 11%. It's basically the rise of goods within this country. It's everything to do with how much a loaf of bread is last year compared to this year. Now, as inflation increases, hopefully wages increase as well, so you don't really feel that pinch. But if wages don't increase and inflation gets higher, like when it's at 11% this year, the cost of living goes up. So what Spotlight is saying is, as inflation has risen, let's say inflation let's say it was high at 10%. What they're saying is Spotlight have not put their prices up 10%. They've put them up 1%, so it's 9% below inflation. And on the other hand, equity, if inflation was 10%, equity have put their prices up 19% because they've gone 9% above the rate of inflation. So in real term costs, Spotlight is costing you less these days based on inflation of what it should be, and equity is costing you more. So I think that's a good point, because I think a lot of people think that equity are these angels and they're all working on our behalf and they don't make any money out of us. I'm going to show you what equity make, and it will flabbergast you. It's a good word, isn't it? You'll be flabbergasted. Because I think there's a lot of throwing stones in glass houses here. There's a shit ton of money made by equity, and I think they're throwing it away on a lot of unnecessary stuff. And I'll talk to you about that later. But the 400 grand a year to send out 2 paper magazines, I think, is absolutely insane. So let's just have a little look at this. I'm sure you can tell which side I lean towards, even though I'd love it if Spotlight didn't increase their prices. I don't think they're perfect by any means. There's lots of criticism I can give Spotlight, but not on this. So Spotlight remains committed to making its directory and our industry genuinely inclusive and accessible. We offer a 50% reduction to performers who identify as deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent. Equity don't. And we have granted thousands of bursaries to those facing economic hardship. And that's legit. Members of our community have got those. They're not making that up. We've promoted new tools for performers to better self-identify, whether through ethnicity or heritage, gender identity or disability, to promote authentic portrayal wherever appropriate. And we have worked hard to make our physical casting studios accessible to performers and casting directors with a wide range of access requirements. Despite Equity's false assertions, Spotlight is not an employment agency. So this is their main argument. They're not an employment agency or an employment business, nor do we rely on an exemption under the relevant agency regulations and legislation to operate. So they're saying that legislation I brought up before doesn't even apply to them. The regulations Equity refers to do not actually govern the operation of a directory like Spotlight at all. The agencies in this industry to which these rules apply are the talent agents representing performers who may or may not market themselves on Spotlight. These agencies, so your acting agent, operate or exercise a very different and important set of professional skills, advocating and negotiating on behalf of their clients. Spotlight, on the other hand, have no financial interest in the hiring of actors. We do not recommend or individually promote actors to casting directors. Neither does Spotlight charge an upfront fee. Upfront fees, by definition, money's taken ahead of the later delivery of a service. At Spotlight, you have access to all services from the moment you join, including those related to your discoverability and self-promotion, as well as access to further benefits such as discounts and our health and well-being support. Equity's lawyers wrote to us to express the concerns they are now raising publicly, and we responded to this letter in February 2024. In our reply, we explained clearly why Equity's allegations were incorrect, and we invited the union to return to the table and continue the dialogue we have shared for decades. We have, some 5 months later, still not received a response. Now, for the record, this came out a day before Equity took them to the High Court. So that's Equity's response. They'd not heard from him in February, and the first time they heard from him is like, we're taking you to court. The stage recently reported comments from Equity officials claiming that when given a choice between paying their Spotlight or their Equity membership, most people are opting for Spotlight. Despite Spotlight promoting Equity membership for over 90 years, the union's response to this moment is not to improve how it communicates the value of union membership to performers, but to attack its oldest ally. It is interesting, isn't it? They've literally been partners in crime for 9 decades. And now there's just this big, fuck you. And they say they don't want to destroy him, but it certainly sounds like they do to me. Performers need a strong trade union focused on the real challenges our sector faces, raising pay and increasing jobs. And I agree with this.
Totally.
A robust industrial strategy is required, one that tackles low rates of pay and works with the industry to lobby for increased investment and growth in the UK, in UK production. Hear, hear. The performers who use Spotlight to promote themselves are not hopefuls as the union has rebranded them. That's the thing. I think Equity take all of your power away from you guys. They're basically telling you you're weak, you're shit, you've got no chance of getting work. There's no point in having Spotlight because it's not going to work for you anyway. they're destroying people's dreams by just taking away any optimism they have about getting work. This is why so many actors walk around destroyed, because they've got their own union telling them how hard it is and how it's pointless. You're just a hopeful. You're just poor. It's not fair for you. No, it is. It's just as fair as for any other industry. Work hard. Stay in the game. You will work. Members of our community are doing it every single day because they're hustling, not just sitting there crying about it. So the performers who use Spotlight to promote themselves are not hopefuls, as the union is rebranding them, but talented world-class professionals who deserve the industry's full throttle support. Spotlight will continue to do just that. So I thought that was a really strong response from Matt there. And as I say, Matt has been really high up in equity. He knows the game. He's not just, defending Spotlight because now he works for them. He understands the industry because he was at equity for 7 whole years. So you can go and read that on Spotlight's website. The 3 main points from there I want you to take away are these. So basically what they're saying is that despite equity's false assertions, Spotlight's not an employment agency or employment business. Okay, nor do they rely on that exemption that we spoke about before. That's the big thing from that point. Second point, Spotlight doesn't charge an upfront fee. Okay, when you pay your fees, you get access to everything straight away. Okay, that's kind of like the second main point. And then the third main point is that they're like, look, equity should be focusing on other stuff that's more important. Tackling low pay, tackling poor conditions, tackling agents that go completely rogue, like so many members of our community and people in the industry. We had a rogue agent go mental last year. So many actors that Petch and I know wrote to equity for help got none. Zero, still haven't heard from them. And the campaigns that other people in this industry put together to out that individual. Equity have not got on board with any of it. So maybe they should focus on looking after people at a grassroots level like that. And then the other point is that, Spotlight are like, look, you're not all these helpless little lambs going to the slaughter. You're world-class professionals, actually feel empowered. You're putting yourself on a platform that, Act On This, we teach you how to promote yourself through it. Not through your agent, but through sending that Spotlight profile out yourself. And we have members of our community landing roles every single week because they know how to promote themselves through that advertising tool that is Spotlight. Mm-hmm. So, to be fair, I'm going to show you both sides of the argument. I'm going to try and be impartial. I find it difficult because I'm quite passionate about this. But let's just look at equity fees. We've looked at Spotlight fees. We're going to look at them Spotlight fees in even more depth in a minute. But let's just look at equity fees, right? So this is the breakdown of equity fees, okay? So depending on how much you earn each year, you pay a certain fee. So anybody who earns under 40 grand a year from acting is in the bottom bracket, basically. And it goes right up to people who earn, nearly a quarter of $1 million a year. So the people at the bottom pay £13.50 a month, 168 quid a year. Or the people at the very, very top can pay up to £279.50 a month, okay? So the poorest actors, let's use some of equity's language. Let's make everybody disempowered. All us poor lot, right, pay £168 a year. And you see the bottom in small print there? Plus a £38 joining fee. If you've never joined equity before, you've got to pay that. Or if your membership lapses and you want to reactivate it, it's another 38 quid. So that's £206 a year for your equity membership and only £198 a year for Spotlight. So already, equity are £8 a year dearer. And I'd love to know, if you're here live on the chat, how many jobs have you had off equity? How much money have you made out of equity for your £206 a year? And how much money have you made out of Spotlight? If you had, there will be people who get it who haven't had one job out of Spotlight. Maybe you just don't understand the business of the business and you don't know yet how to promote yourself via Spotlight. If that's the case, please let us help you. Come and join actonthis.tv. We sit down every week with the biggest names in the game, and we will help you so much when it comes to putting yourself out there through your Spotlight profile. I'll show you what jobs you need to get in a minute in order to cover a full year of Spotlight as well. It's like literally one tiny, tiny job. It's not a TV role or anything like that. That is actually a very accessible acting job that could just pay for all your Spotlight instantly. So 200
McGivney there said none
off equity. Hopefully, Luke, you've had at least a couple off Spotlight. But if you're paying your 206 quid a year, again, let's not get emotional about this. Let's look at this logically. You're paying 198 quid a year for Spotlight, 206 for equity.
It's not 206 every year, though, is it?
It would be, well, it'd be your first year, yeah, and then it would drop down to 168. So it's still not far off what it would, it would cost you. Yeah. But there's obviously it depends. You might be paying 336 a year if you earn more, or you might be paying if you're a baller, 280 a month. But put a 1 in the chat if you, or put a yes in the chat if you want to rise to the top bracket. Yeah, because I would love that. I would happily pay my 280 a month if I was bringing in 240 out of acting. I would take that. So this is Equity's fees, folks. Right now, this is from Equity's website. We're made up of 50,000 performers and creative practitioners. We're actors, we're singers, we're dancers, designers, all that stuff there. So there's 50,000 of us all paying this. So let's just say we pay the minimum, and this won't be the case. So many will be paying the $27.50 a month. A lot will be paying the what's that, $55.50 a month, and a significant amount will probably pay $280. We've got a lot of successful, brilliant actors in our industry who hopefully are paying their fees as they should do. I'm all for unions, by the way. I just think this could be run so much better. So 50,000 times 206 minimum. I've gone so conservative on this. I've said everybody's just paying the minimum amount, but they won't be. £10.3 million a year in fees. 10.3 million quid a year in fees Equity are making. Is that, going back to the word reasonable, is everyone here, let me know, are you seeing loads of benefit from your Equity subscription? Do you think that the £10.3 million a year is reasonable? It's a reasonable amount. And you think that money that you're seeing being spent by Equity is being spent fairly or transparently? Do you even know how it's being spent?
Well, yeah, I get my 2 letters and my diary and stuff.
Yeah, you get your 2 paper magazines a year, which would cost around £400,000. Conservatively, folks, think about this. We did a live on this. You get your Equity magazine twice a year. A large letter stamp's £1.55 in the UK. So that's just to post it. And I think conservatively, you can look at that magazine costing £1.50, so that takes up to £3.05. And I reckon that diary they send you, the paper diary that's pointless, it's a waste of trees in the environment. In a 2024 world, who uses an Equity diary to write anything in? It's tiny and pointless, but they hang on to it because they're so far in the past. I think that's probably a quid to make. So £4.05 for that magazine that gets sent out. Times that by 2, call it £8. There's 50,000 members. 400 grand wasted on a magazine that they put out digitally and put out in an audio-only format anyway. Why do you send it to my house? I just recycle it and I can't even opt out of it, I don't think.
Luke McGibney has put, Christ, where is the money going? Shocked. Holmes AM on Instagram has said something that I didn't even know about, which
go on.
It's put, Equity at least gives you public liability insurance, which you can use to get a Costco membership. I did not know.
There you go. Well, we'll take that. But yeah, you do get 10 mil. That is one thing about your Equity. You get £10 million public liability. So basically, if you're out in public and I don't know, you're shooting a video for your show reel and you leave a tripod on the floor and someone trips over it and they sue you, you're insured, as long as you've got a permit to be in that place.
Lastly, Amy Roxon again on Instagram has said, I'm still upset about how much went to a certain Mr. Fox.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and I just think it just seems, as I say, I don't want everybody to get emotional. I'm trying to look at this logically, but I'm just like double standards in this industry. Let's poke into everybody's businesses then, shall we? If you're going to go after, I think this sets a very dangerous precedent when one body can go into, this is a completely free capitalist country. When you can lobby to change the law to destroy that company's profits, that's a dangerous precedent that we are setting. Where does this end if you can do that? This is, I'm all for actors saving money, but not at a cost that I think, this could, end up producing. Like, I don't think this is right. So let's just be honest on both sides of the fence here. So I'm going to look at Spotlight's fees in a minute. Spotlight do make more money. Right? But, actually, maybe they don't, because I put this down here as a minimum of £206. So that £10.3 million is the minimum Equity are bringing in. I think you could potentially triple that based on the other fees. So Equity might be bringing in 30 million quid in fees. Spotlight aren't doing that. I'll show you Spotlights in a minute from my best estimates anyway. So again, we're just showing, I'm trying to be balanced arguments here. So can we see, I'd love Equity to show us, because this is what they're asking for Spotlight. Can we see where all those millions are going to and to who? Because I've had people come and tell me who have been Equity reps that of all of these jollies that Equity reps go on a couple of times a year, they stay in good hotels, they all get together, they have their little, soirees or whatever, and we're all paying for that. As I say, 400 grand
as well, right?
yeah, 400 grand a year on a magazine. Like, can you not spend money, my fees on better things that are actually going to, make a difference to the industry? So, to be fair, let's look at Spotlight's finances in more detail, and we're going to apply Equity's goals to what could happen if Equity get their way, okay? So there are currently 90,000 performers registered on Spotlight, and we're going to look at the money later of what that produces. I'm going to be fair, we've looked at Equity's money, let's look at Spotlight's as well. So there are 219 production companies in the UK. That's it. This is according to Wikipedia. We looked at this on our last broadcast, Petch. 219 production companies in the UK. So 219 production companies, they're looking to take care of 90,000 actors. So Equity is saying every production company in the land, in the UK, because they say the producers should pay, they're saying here, you need to look after 410 actors' Spotlight fees. 410 times £198 is £81,180 per production company per year. So they're saying, actors, don't worry, you don't have to pay for your Spotlight. We're going to get producers to pay for it. So all you production companies out there making telly, or you small production companies making your first pilots for TV, you've all got to pay 81 grand each if you want to get access to this database to source actors. And on top of that, you've still got to pay for all of the castings. You've still got to pay for casting directors. You've still got to pay for the room, the hire, the video camera, all the hours you're putting into that. And you've got to pay for the privilege of the actors being there. £81,180 per year they want each production company to pay. So could production companies afford that, Petch? And how would that affect the budget for actors' wages? Because what happens if they go, right, okay, we'll pay it, but then everybody's wages come down because they go, well, we don't have the budget for 10 characters in this now. I'll have to drop it down to 3. So there's 7 less jobs and we can't pay you very much. Because people start kicking off about fees. Oh, it's under equity rates. Well, maybe we just have to deal with under equity rates then, if Equity get their way, and say that everybody else, bar actors, should pay for Spotlight. What happens if membership doubles, folks? Because Spotlight's suddenly free, and actors go, hang on, I don't have to pay for it anymore. Right, I'm going to apply. So let's say membership goes to 180,000. Another 90,000 people get on it. Are they going to ask the production companies for £160,000 a year? Because that's just impossible. 80,000 is impossible. Where's the money coming from to pay for all of our fees? As an actor, I'm like, it's my responsibility to pay what I think are very reasonable fees to promote my business, to advertise my business as an actor. How does that affect submissions that casting directors receive? They're going to receive so many more submissions. So everyone's going to complain there's too much competition now. Everybody's on Spotlight. Having a barrier to entry that's financial, as harsh as it sounds, does mean that only the most dedicated actors get on it. Not people who are just dabbling, people who, will just waste people's time, but might end up at castings that you, who are not dabbling, not wasting your time, don't end up going to. More competition, less quality of actors on the platform. So let's look at the money that Spotlight do make. This is an estimate. I don't know. Obviously, I don't get access to their balance sheets. But 90,000 actors times 198 quid, 17 mil, nearly 18 million quid. So I think Equity are making as much as that, though. I said before they're 10.2 million or whatever, but that's based on everybody paying the smallest amount. There's no way those 50,000 actors, Petch, are paying the smallest amount. 10,000 might be paying, the upper band on that. So chances are Equity are bringing in more money than Spotlight for a start. But let's say if everybody pays full price, and not everyone will pay full price because a lot of people will identify as deaf, disabled, or neurodivergent, they'll be paying half price. But at the top whack, 17.8 million quid. Now, I went over this on the last live to show people who don't have a business how much tax you pay in this country because you get spanked. It's very hard to create a profitable business in the UK. Straight away, they're going to be paying 20% VAT on that. It's roughly £3 million, 3.5 million quid VAT. So 3.5 million quid goes to your government. 3.5 million quid in taxes. That obviously goes to the NHS, goes to pay for the roads, goes to pay for the upkeep of society, pays for people's benefits. It's 3 million quid. You've got to give people a round of applause if you're creating a decent business that's generating decent tax. And they will be paying this. There's no way to get around this. VAT is absolutely non-negotiable in the UK. HMRC will dial into your bank account and take this. It's called EVAT. Like, literally, there's no way I can't pay VAT as a company. They know what money goes into my bank account. I can't swizz them out of that. So 20% VAT, 3.5 million quid straight away. Then they've got to pay 25% corporation tax on that, which is another £3.5 million. So Spotlight, yes, they're profitable, but they're giving £7 million of that profit to our country. Then they're employing 50 staff folks who all pay tax on the money that they get paid. And their wage bill, as we've got there, I reckon is about £200,000 a month wages, 50 staff at Spotlight. So every staff member is paying tax on that as well. So there's another 20% at least of that, another, what would that be? 40 grand a month that goes to the government as well. So that across, what's that? That's another £500,000, isn't it? So Spotlight generates £7.5 million a year that they give to the taxman. Central London offices, rent, bills, 50k a month, I reckon. I'm estimating it, but Spotlight's offices now are gorgeous, beautiful. And then website costs and developer fees. It annoyed me when Equity came out and said, but it's just a website. You've no idea what you're talking about if you say it's just a website. The amount of tech behind a site that can manage 90,000 people and all the agents on top of that and all of the software that's proprietary that has to, work. And sometimes it doesn't. I'll criticize Spotlight on that. Sometimes the website falls down. They need to look at that. But I don't know what that would cost. But I know 10 years ago when I was setting up Act On This, I was paying a developer £85 an hour 10 years ago to work with me. And they won't just have one developer, working on Spotlight's website. They'll have many developers, I'm sure, and a full-time team who probably look after the app and everything else. So I estimate that Spotlight might make around £500,000 a month net profit. Shitload of money, no doubt about it whatsoever. But it's a business, and I put this slide up last time we were talking about this. Is a business allowed to make profit or not? At what point do we demonize businesses in this country that make profit? Because when you demonize those businesses that make profit, that's £7.5 million in tax, guys, that goes towards our government, our benefits, our hospitals, our NHS. That goes as well. If you drive successful businesses out of the UK, society falls apart because you have nobody contributing money like that that's essential for our essential services. So we can't demonize them and go, but you're making too much money. The more money they make, the more they end up paying. So I'm quite, passionate about that as well. We mustn't forget that. And every member of Spotlight, every staff member is paying tax as well. Okay, so, there's a lot generated there that's for the good of society, not just for some fat cat at Spotlight. But roughly £500,000. Now Spotlight are owned by Talent Systems LLC. That's an American company. They also own a lot of other things like Casting Networks. They own Cast It in the States. They own Tagmin. It's a private company. Well, it's invested in by private equity firms, and some of those private equity firms float on the NASDAQ. That's the American stock market. So they're accountable to shareholders. So if suddenly Spotlight aren't allowed to make any money, those shareholders will probably sell out. They'll probably sell it and go, well, there's no point, there's no profit in this. And we'll look at this later, but there's a chance if a business like this becomes non-profitable, it just disappears. There's no point in running it anymore because the people who own it only own it because they want to make a profit. And we live in a world where that's okay. Your business, your acting career, surely you want to make a profit. Can you imagine somebody coming into your business, Petch, as an actor and going, hang on a minute, you're making too much money, Petch. So we're going to change the law to make sure that actually you don't earn as much. You wouldn't like that, would you?
No.
I don't think anybody would. But this is what they're trying to do. So think of the ramifications of this. All that contribution to society goes. All of those 50 jobs goes. All of the casting directors who have built a livelihood on this platform. Production companies that have found stars that have, they've made their lives basically because they found them on this platform. And, now they're doing great things. They've started their own production companies up. Like the ripple effect that's positive that Spotlight would have had is immense. And then suddenly you go, you can't make any profit anymore, bar what's reasonable to run the business. Well, they just go, forget it then. And then what do we do? We'll look at that in a bit. I also put this slide up, and this I think is my best argument for Spotlight. And if I was Spotlight, I'd use this argument because actors, we always compare ourselves to plumbers.
Why plumbers?
I don't know what it is, but they always say it. So when they're saying I'm a complete advocate for not working for free unless it's a very well-chosen job. I think there are certain people I would work for free as a favour, and I have done, and I've earned a lot of money out of that when that job that I did for free has then been commissioned properly, etc. But a lot of people go, but actors, they should be paid for everything because you wouldn't ask a plumber to work for free. So let's have a look at plumbers then and their lives and whether they have to do anything like we have to do using Spotlight, because we're no different. We're self-employed people and we have our own businesses just like a plumber would. So many people will have used checkertrade.com, right? Let us know in the chat if you've used this site to find a workman, a plumber, a joiner, kitchen fitter, a carpet layer. I use this site so much when I bought my apartment to just, have work done in my apartment. And basically what it is it's exactly like Spotlight, but it's for tradespeople. And it's a lot more expensive than Spotlight. But you basically register a profile as a joiner, for example, and then you get your Spotlight page like you would do as an actor. And then you can have people who go on this site and look for joiners to give them work, just like a casting director would go on Spotlight to look for actors to give them work. It's literally exactly the same. There's no difference between this in the plumbing world and the trade world and the acting world. And this is where, again, I think that whole thing about equity saying it's illegal in every other sector is nonsense. There's so many of these kind of sites across the board. Upwork, if you're an IT freelancer and you want to get, development work, you pay to be on that platform and apply for jobs. Like if you're just a normal everyday, you want to work in the real world as opposed to our fake world, and you go on a site like Indeed, you can sign up for free, but you get the worst profile possible. You always have to upgrade to premium to get a premium CV and to be able to apply for jobs before the normal people who are on the free one. It's no different in any walk of life. If you want to advertise your services, you pay for it. Facebook, I run adverts for Act On This. I mean, should I ask actors to pay for my adverts on Facebook so I can advertise to them? Like, it's just backwards. So Checkertrade, if you're a plumber, you'd get yourself on here. It's 185 quid a month. Not a year. Spotlight's not even 200 quid a year. If you're a plumber that everyone compares themselves to, you'd be paying 185 quid a month to be on this. And that's a special offer, Petch. What does it say there? That's 30% off.
30% off the first 6 months.
So it's 264 quid a month after that. Okay? So should Checkertrade be paid for by the people who want bathrooms fitting? So if you're a plumber, you advertise your service on there, you're a joiner or whatever, should your customers pay for you to be on there? Because that's what Equity are arguing. They're saying, actually, actors, your customers, the producers, the casting directors, they should pay for you to be on this platform. It makes no sense to me whatsoever that that's the way that it should be. So we're going to look at how fast, we put this slide up on the last presentation as well, how fast you can actually profit from your Spotlight profile, just what it would take to stop all this complaining and earn your 198 quid back. Because it's really not difficult if you know what you're doing. And it's not about getting a big glitzy TV job or anything like that, folks. Any of these jobs would pay for your Spotlight fees or multiple years of your Spotlight fees. I have put an asterisk there saying don't sue me if the fees are slightly less. But if we start with the big stuff, obviously literally any cast TV drama or commercial, you would get a minimum of you get one line on Hollyoaks, 14 words on Hollyoaks, £1,000, folks. I've got Peter Hunt, the casting director of Hollyoaks, on the record on a video telling us that. £1,000 for one line, 14 words or more. A 1 hour professional voiceover, minimum of 200, 250 for your basic studio fee. Okay. A day's medical role play. We always put that as so obtainable, Petch, don't we? That's roughly about 180 to 200 quid a day in London. Okay, there's a caveat there. That would be in the city. Where basically, you rock up for it could be a university, a hospital, university hospital, and you basically get given a scenario where they say, Petch, you've got a sore elbow, and you've had it for a week, and it started the day after you played tennis. And when you move it this way, it hurts, and when you move it that way, it doesn't. And then you go into the room and you role play that out with a junior doctor or a student medical person, and they try and diagnose with what's wrong with you based on your symptoms. It's really good fun. Loads of our members do it, and it's really well paid. Much better than working in a bar or a restaurant or wherever a lot of actors end up working. One episode of a professional radio drama. Admittedly, that's probably a little bit harder to get than the medical role play, but it's completely possible. And then that's really easy to get, like a day's corporate video presenting. A load of our members, I used to do loads of corporate video presenting, and back when I did it 10 years ago, it was $650 a day. It must be £1,000 a day now. If you work for a decent company, but like any of those jobs would get you your Spotlight fees back or multiple years. And if you don't feel, this will sound brutal and horrible, I don't mean it to. I just want to talk realistically. If you're an actor and you don't believe enough in yourself and your ability that you don't feel you can land one of those jobs in a year, without sounding awful, there's no point in you being on Spotlight. Don't pay your subs. If you don't believe in yourself enough that you can land the most basic work, don't subscribe to it until you learn the business of this business. That's what we teach on Act On This literally every single week.
Jane Stenson has just said this on Instagram. Perhaps the real work should be to educate actors on business models across the board, like this chat, so they can better understand how the industry operates and why certain choices are made.
Thank you. Did you say Jane?
Jane.
Thank you, Jane. Appreciate that comment. Yeah, honestly, this is what actonthis.tv, all we focus on is the business of the business. I'll never teach anybody how to act, but I can teach everybody here how to land one of these jobs fast, so that you sign up for your spotlight this month and you've made your money back within 6 weeks. If you understand how this industry works and you have talent, there is a caveat there, you have to be good. You don't have to be exceptional, you have to be esoteric. There's nothing exceptional about me whatsoever. I work really regularly. And I said this on the last call, I don't want people to think I'm a dickhead. It's not that much money. But there's not been a year since 2010 where I haven't earned 100 times my spotlight fees back. And I don't get that twisted. That's roughly, some years £18,000, right, out of acting. When spotlight was 150 quid back in 2010, 15 grand. Not a load of money, right? I'm not saying I'm a baller. I'm not paying that 280 quid a month for equity. But I've consistently earned 100 times my fees back because I understand the business of the business. It's why I set up actonthis.tv. You don't have to do that much in order to rise to, at least 10K, let's get people to 5K. It's not, it's not that hard when, it might be difficult for TV work because sometimes, that you just are relying, unfortunately, on the serendipity of a writer writing something that just happens to fit you and a casting director to happen to know you and you get your CV on their desk at the right time and your agent pushes you at the right time. There's quite a bit of luck involved in that, but also a lot of control that you can have over that as well as an actor. But we're talking, a lot of this kind of work, the medical role play particularly, the corporate video presenting, voiceover, that's so in your control, and you can get some really decent jobs. Voiceover particularly, we've looked at really in depth on Act On This recently. I brought my voiceover agents on about 3 weeks ago. There's a session in the members area with a voiceover gallery. We talk about how buoyant that industry is. I did one advert earlier this year for 30 grand. And that's 4 hours work. And again, I'm not going, oh, I'm a knobhead, look at me, I'm amazing. I'm not amazing. The work's out there for people who want to focus on the work and not focus on the lawsuits and wasting time and money and energy complaining about how it is and attacking a company that are charging you, like £4 a week. I spent more than that on my latte at Starbucks this morning. If you don't believe you can earn more than £4 a week from your career, we need to have a look at your mindset and have a look at what you're deploying in this industry, because it's so doable. Everybody here can make that money back each year. So how long could all this take? I was looking at class action lawsuits and litigation earlier. I'm not a lawyer, don't know it all, but these can often take 3 to 4 years on average when you put class action. And for anyone who doesn't know what class action is, basically it's where you put a lawsuit together against a company from a few people based on the many. So there's 8 people who have gone to the High Court can say that they're acting on behalf of all equity members. Now, you can have an opt-in or an opt-out version of this. So you can, as an equity member, go, they're not speaking for me. But that's how litigation and class action works. Generally, it's a few people acting on behalf of a lot of people. So that's what those 8 people have done. I mean, I'm surprised, I'm not surprised it's only 8 people. I don't know how many other people get down there, to be honest. How many people are bothered about this? It's £4 a week. We can earn that back. If you know what you're doing. But Equity put out this, it said, our courts and legal system have suffered over 14 years of austerity and won't move as swiftly as we might like. Equity will keep members updated at key moments as soon as we can. So they might be at this for 3 or 4 years, guys, 3 or 4 years, using your equity subs. The money that, that 10.3 million quid minimum that they're getting, that's more likely to be 30 million quid or whatever. They're going to be using all of that money to pursue this. Who pays if Equity loses? If we rack up hundreds of thousands in lawsuits, who pays for this, Petch? Oh, the losing party pay. So if Equity lose, all of our fees have been a complete waste of time and they've just thrown them away. Right? Bear that in mind as well. And if Equity win, and as I said before, let's say those private equity firms and those companies who are invested in Talent Systems Inc. Or LLC as it is in America, let's say that those companies pull out, sell their stake, can't fund Spotlight anymore, and Spotlight go. Spotlight aren't allowed to make a profit and closes. Where do we go? Do Equity suddenly pull a Spotlight equivalent out of their bum and go, yeah, we've got this brand new website, 90,000 people, you can all get on it for free. We're going to pay for it for you. we've got a great alternative. All those casting directors, as I said, who literally rely on Spotlight for their livelihood, who are lovely, amazing, incredible people. We have them on actonthis.tv every week. They're just beautiful people trying to get actors work as best as they can, and they really fight for you. I had an audition this week with Aisha Bywaters. We had on Act On this week, and I saw so many people in the waiting room who Aisha was giving like their first opportunity at feature film to. She busts her ass off working to give you as an actor an opportunity. And if you get your spotlight in front of her and you present it well, as we covered in that call on actonthis.tv, go and watch it in the members area, you could earn your, you get an audition, and if you get the job, you could earn your spotlight fees back literally like that. Like, if you know what you're doing, you can use this tool so much to your advantage. Please don't let the world and companies like this brainwash you into thinking you're getting such a hard deal and that they're these evil people. It's this crazy narrative that's going on in so many parts of society today, how everybody's out to get you, everybody's bad. They're not at all. This is £4 a week to invest in your business to promote yourself. Could equity be spending, and this is an honest question, I asked this last time, genuinely, I'm up for your feedback in the chat. Could equity be spending our fees campaigning for something better? That's a genuine question. It's not rhetorical. Could they? And could they be benefiting, us campaigning for something that's more profitable for us, as opposed to going to try and change the law to destroy a platform's business? And when they do this with Spotlight, what'll happen, Petch? Because they've got to go after Mandy. Mandy's 17 quid a month.
Yep.
They'd have to go after Backstage. Every
Star
other
Now.
platform, Star Now in this country. If they set a dangerous precedent here that they can do this, where does it end when you can dictate to a company what they're allowed to do? I just think it's dangerous. They're my thoughts on it. I'm completely open. I don't think I'm perfectly right. I'm completely open to having my mind changed on certain areas of this. Please put your comments in the chat if you're here live. If you're not here live, please leave comments as well. I will read them. But I just want to know kind of where you stand on this. And as I say, I think one of the strongest points there is that point with a plumber and the way they advertise their services on sites like Checkatrade. Should the people who want the bathrooms pay for the plumber to be on Checkatrade? Because that's the equivalent of what equity are arguing for right now. So let's go over to the chat page, see what's coming in. And if you think I'm completely wrong, I'm so okay with it. Be kind. Don't hate me too much. But I'm very happy for people to be like, Ross, have you thought of this? Maybe think of this. You're wrong on that. Like, I'm totally open for discussion. We need to chat about this stuff, not argue about it. So have you got anything on YouTube or anything, Petch?
Yeah, NK has said compared to the market in the USA, where there are something like half a dozen platforms, you never know which one is the reliable one, and all of them cost a lot more.
Yeah, we've got it easy in the UK when it comes to that. Obviously, and that's the thing. They'll say, well, Spotlight have got a monopoly. Well, businesses don't get a monopoly unless they're good. You can't monopolize unless you generally provide the best service. And all a purchase is in life, guys, is an exchange of value. The people who end up with the most people on the platform generally provide the most value. Now, Spotlight are not perfect at all. They're flawed. It's run by human beings. There's a lot of things that I think Spotlight could improve on. I'd love to get Spotlight on and we'll chat about them all as a community. But they've got where they've got because they've been there for agents, casting directors and actors more than any other platform. That's why they've got a monopoly.
Terry Donovan has said if they sell up, let us, the actors, as a collective, buy it and own the means to production.
I mean, I don't know. It costs quite a bit of money, Terry. I don't know how. I don't think that'd be necessarily be possible. I think you'd need a lot more than 198 quid each to buy it. You generally buy a company, by the way, folks, based on what's called a profit to earnings ratio. So their profit ratio, let's cap it at 500 grand conservatively. So it would be £6 million a year. A valuation of a company, if you were going to buy it out, would roughly be 3 up to 10, depending on the industry, times that profit. So let's average it out at 5. You would probably need 30 million quid to buy Spotlight. So we'd need a fair chunk of change between us.
Grace Blackman has said it would be nice for equity to chase after the rogue agents, con agents, long or uncomfortable hours on set. And you're right. Why are they not filing this against Backstage, who own Star Now and Mandy?
Yeah, totally, Grace. No, honestly, it's focus on what is actually like a problem in the industry.
Now, Oliver Hewitt, this whole premise of comparing these two organizations seems completely flawed to me. Give
us more context, Ollie.
I've probably worked for 219 production companies, and I've had 1 TV credit, 4 or 5 theatre tours. He also goes on to say, I have no problem paying spotlight fees. I have no problem paying equity fees. They fulfill very different and incomparable services. I have always acknowledged that spotlight fees may not be very fair given the monopoly position they seem to hold, but I'd have to do more research. What is the basis of equities lawsuit? We've covered that already.
So if you watch the replay, Ollie, at the start, you'll see exactly what Equity's point of view is. No, it is. They are completely different businesses, mate. You can't really, it's like comparing apples to oranges. But the revenue I'm comparing, because I think it's a bit throwing stones in glass houses. You can't have a company that's making tens of millions of pounds going after another company making tens of millions of pounds because they're making tens of millions of pounds.
He's also said right. That 81k number is just plain. I'll bleep that out.
What's the 81? What's 81k? What's?
I think it's a price that you put up in one of your slides. And he also said that's just not true on something else that you said, but I didn't get to that one.
You have to let us know. What was the 81? Oh no, so I'm saying 219 production companies. So that was based on them saying that production companies should pay. So that's not based on whether casting directors etc. should pay. That was me saying that Equity's actual statement says the producers. So it says the bosses and producers should pay. So I googled how many production companies are there in the UK, and Wikipedia said 219 as of now. So I divided Spotlight's membership by 219, which gave us 410. Actors per production company in the UK. Now I know there'll be lots of other little production companies that maybe it's not attributed to that number or whatever. I just had a Google, so it's just to make a point really that if you're saying that the producers should pay, well, let's have a look at how many companies there are. Yeah, you'll have theatres as well and stuff like that, but still, even if you half that number, it's still adding. Even if you divide it by 5. Or whatever, even if you just go, well, you got to look after each production company's got to look after 50 actors. They're going to go, why? Why should we pay for them to advertise their services? I don't think you get it in any other industry. If you're adding thousands on, it's just not going to work.
Absolute Goblin said, I think Equity don't want producers to pay; they want the actors to pay less in line with what we pay Mandy, etc. But that's not what is said in their statement, though, is it, Ross?
No, you've got to
it should be.
Born. I'll bring the statement up again. Yeah, this is why we've got to read exactly what they want. You can't read headlines and guess at what they're asking for. Let me bring these slides up again. I'll show you exactly what they want. They're not saying actors should pay less. They're saying the cost. I've got it. Nope.
It's near the beginning, I think.
Here. It is in our members' interest that access to work is fair. That's a good point. And the costs of doing so are borne, as in, are taken on by the bosses, the producers who are seeking to hire people. That's why I went to production companies and went, right, realistically, how many quality, decent TV production companies are in the UK? So I was only looking at TV and film. Of course, there's going to be production companies that look after theatre, etc. They're probably not as rich as the production companies that look after TV. So you could, maybe I'll take that on board, the figure of 410 actors per production company. You can probably make that, even if it's considerably less, you're still asking production companies to pay thousands of pounds that I just don't think they can justify paying. So they're not asking for actors to pay less, they're asking for actors to pay nothing and for the cost to be borne by the bosses and the producers.
Yvonne has said, I agree, RE Equity's cash pot. I resigned from the committee when they implemented Action 2000 to basically allow anyone in with one job. At that point in time, they had 11.5 million in offshore holes.
Wow. And so you worked for you were on the committee. Yeah, honestly, and that was the whole comparison of the two companies. I'm not comparing Equity to Spotlight in the sense of they do something different, but I do want to know exactly what they do, because for me, I've only approached them twice for help and they've declined me both times.
Is it all right that I laughed that you said do?
You asked them for something, Petch, and you were declined. All those actors who have been emailing them and getting hold of them when a particular agent went rogue last year and would con some people out of over £10,000, they did nothing. I'm like, you've got 10 million quid in resources a year. More than that, because I put those stats up there based on the tiniest fees, on the smallest amount of fees you can pay as an actor. So, I just think...
See this.
So,
Yvonne said, and that was 24 years ago, so it'll be even more now.
wow. No, they'll have a lot more. Honestly, you know, you can probably, that 10.2 million, it would be at least 20 million based on the upper fees that a lot of people will be paying. You know, and I'm not, as I say, I have no allegiance to equity, no allegiance to Spotlight. I pay my equity fees. I'm a customer for Spotlight. I have no romantic allegiance. If there was a better platform than Spotlight, I would leave Spotlight and I'd get on that one. You know, the fact that the equity is our union, I'll pay into it because I want to try and empower people not as experienced and those people new to the industry or those people who need help. That's fine. I'm not saying that they're not a good organization. It's not a good thing to be a part of. What I'm saying is that I think they're going after the wrong fight here.
Yeah. Absolute Goblin has said, I hope someone who works for equity is watching this live.
I'd have a chat with him. I'd bring them on, one of these. I'd bring a representative from Spotlight on and a representative from equity, and let's just talk about it rationally, like actual adults, and go, look, come on, like can we work together? There should be no fighting in this industry because we're all genuinely on the same team. Everybody wants to work. Everybody wants to earn money from their career. And everybody, you know, just wants to have a nice time. But I'm seeing this attack. I'm like, it's going to be a 4-year court case or whatever. If it goes to that, I don't think it will go to that because I don't think Spotlight will end up being governed by that employment law that equity think they might be. But I just think I just think equity are being hypocritical in terms of going after someone who's making loads of money when they're making loads of money. And I'm not seeing any profit from my necessarily, bar the equity pack contracts. I'll hold my hands up. That's amazing. Equity, you know, fought for decent rates of pay. We got them. I think the pay can be increased even more now. I don't know when it last was. Equity do a lot of good. I just think this isn't a good campaign.
Donzy Gray over on Instagram has said, I had a terrible time in a play in January and my emails to equity fell on deaf ears. I have no idea why I pay fees for them. Years ago, you used to be able to talk to equity representatives. Now we are just a number. It's so sad.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, you know, and there's been, on the flip side of that, a couple of people, I will stand up, and a couple of people in our community have emailed when they didn't get paid from an agent, not an agent, it was a production company, wasn't it? And equity did help them. So they have helped some people, but I don't hear many great success stories. I think there is some kind of agenda here. It feels like it, where equity are like, hang on a minute, if we get other people to pay for Spotlight, the money that all those actors save who aren't part of equity yet will come and join equity. Feels a bit like that. They're like, if people are choosing between Spotlight and equity and they're going to go for Spotlight because it can lead to work, equity are like, hang on a minute, let's get everyone else to pay for the Spotlight for people and then they can come and join the union.
Absolute Goblin said, I mean that they need to hear this perspective. By the way he read that, Petch sounded like I was threatening. I'm just northern. Everything I say sounds like I'm threatening someone.
He's very threatening.
I'm very threatening.
He's incredibly scary in real life, Petch, as well.
Emma
he's menacing.
Has asked, in fact, I'll bring this one up first, is there a way to opt out of the lawsuit? And she's also gone on to say, I don't want to be a part of this lawsuit. With Absolute Goblin, me neither. I've totally changed my mind on it. Trying to be threatening again.
But stop being threatening, Petch. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know the law when it comes to litigation, to be honest with you. I think, as I say, there's two versions of it, opt out and opt in, and I think it's whoever files can decide to opt out, whether they're opting everyone else out. I don't know. You have to look at that. I think at the moment, because it's in such preliminary stages, they're asking a judge really to give them absolute clarity on whether that law applies or not to Spotlight, and then we'll move from there. I don't think it does. I think any rational person that looks at it would, you know, say that it doesn't. One other thing, part of that legislation as well says that anybody who offers other services can charge. So, I mean, it is a loophole, and people might go, that's not fair, but I wonder if there's even a world where Spotlight go, right, okay, you join us, and you pay your fees so you get access to mental health, well-being, all the other little things that you get as Spotlight. And actually, the part where you can put yourself forward for jobs is free. That's free when you buy this other stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's like a world where they can just say that. I don't know. But yeah, I just think, and this just goes across the board, not just for this topic, but just for so many topics in life, never mind the acting industry. We do live in a world where our attention spans are so short because we're used to watching 15-second TikToks and scrolling on Instagram dead fast or whatever, that so much of us, and I include myself in certain areas of life, we are just headline readers. And I completely get it. You get an email from equity and they say, we're taking Spotlight to court and we're going to get your equity, your Spotlight fees for free. A lot of actors will presume Spotlight are acting nefariously. They'll be on board because to them selfishly, they're like, well, I'm going to save money, so I don't care about Spotlight. And then they don't look at the actual details and what is fair and not. And I don't even think, as I say, when you break down, the money Spotlight are making and the amount of money that they're then contributing through tax and corporation tax, and equity might be the same. I don't know whether equity go because they're a union, they're exempt to certain taxes and stuff. I don't know, because they're at .org.uk. I don't know whether that's like some sort of charitable. I have no idea actually about the basis of that, but I don't know whether they end up not having to pay as much out of their fees, tax and stuff like that. But just in terms of the money that Spotlight's revenue generates and the contribution through corporation tax, through VAT, through the taxes all their employees pay, we can't forget that. We've got to be grateful for big business. I know it gets demonized a lot, but without it, that £7.5 million Spotlight pay a year in tax, none of us will ever pay anywhere near that in our life, unless we get the big bucks in Hollywood first. But you've got to go, hang on a minute. There's certain cogs in society that need to function in order for us to be better off. And this is one of them. And I get it. It's £4 a week for your Spotlight. If they could make it £3, we'd all be happier. But it's £4. Equally, an oat latte at Starbucks is £4.50. And I know almost everyone in here has been into Pret, been into Starbucks, been into Costa, and you've spent that this week. You've bought a Subway sandwich. You've taken an Uber that you could have walked instead of taking. We're all guilty of it. Now, if we focus on using our Spotlight profiles for good and getting them in front of our customers, you can make that money back like so quickly if you're good and you know what you're doing. And if you don't know what you're doing, we'll help you. Come and join Act On This TV. We will show you. We sit down every single week. In fact, very quickly, you look for some more comments page. I'm just going to show people, because this is dirt cheap, £6.75 a week. I'm going to show you what's coming up on Act On This TV. Because if you've just stumbled across this stream and you've no idea who we are, you might be thinking, who's this brash dickhead? I'm all right, honestly. I know I go off on one. I am genuinely all right, though. People might be thinking he's a right knobhead, but no, honestly, I'm okay. I'm going to show you the site I've been running for 14 years with Petch. Every week we sit down with literally the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, and producers in TV, and we host a private Zoom call for all of our members, focusing on what we're talking about today, the business of this business, helping you actually earn money from your career. I'm not teaching you how to act. No one else is doing what we do. We're teaching you how to make money from your career. Earn those Spotlight fees back as quickly as possible. And if you've got a membership, it'll cost you £6.75 a week. Let me show you what you'd get access to just over the next few weeks. Because if you come and get involved in these sessions, we can earn you this money back from you understanding what you're going to learn here and implementing it. Next Tuesday, we've got Emmy-winning casting director Alyssa Rogers with us. She just won an Emmy for casting Netflix's African Queen Njinga. Also, past credits for casting. She was a casting associate on Ted Lasso, working with Theo Parks. She's got incredible experience in the industry. She's worked on Brassic with Fiona Weir. She's one of the most positive forces in this industry. If you want to feel motivated, get on Alyssa's casting radar, send her your stuff, send her your Spotlight. She uses it every day. She's built a career on it. If it goes, what will Alyssa use? You want to understand how her casting office works. Come and join us for that call. The week after, if you're looking for an agent, got a great agent with offices in London, Manchester, and in Glasgow, covering the whole of the country. Keddy Scott, work across top TV, top film, top theatre. Paul Harper's going to join us, one of the senior associates from Ken. Who's Ken? Keddy Scott from Ken's Associates. Paul Harper, senior agent at Keddy Scott Associates. Week after that, me and Petch are hosting a 2-hour Act On This Answers session where you can jump on Zoom with us and ask us any questions you want in your career. I promise you, I've been doing
2 hour. It goes on.
Probably 2.5 hours. We'll answer any question that you have on your acting career. I've been doing this. I spent 40,000 hours talking about this industry. The best part of 20 years, 14 years running this community. I don't think there's anything I can't help you with. Showreel Surgery the week after with, in my opinion, the best showreel producer in the UK, Chris Stone. Incredible guy. We're going to play out 5 showreels from members of Act On This TV. We're going to walk you through an 8-step formula to have your best showreel ever for 2024. An invaluable session, they always are. Week after that, we got Peter Hunt, head of Hollyoaks casting. Hollyoaks is changing its format up. It's going to 3 times a week. Now, a lot of people will think, 3 times a week, there's not as many roles available. It's the opposite. Because they've culled a lot of the main cast, they have a smaller main cast now. The storylines are getting deeper. There's a lot more guest roles coming into the show. This is a show you will absolutely want to be targeting for your first TV role. or if you've never been on it, target the show. Peter will be looking for a lot of new actors. The new format has already gone into production in July now. That's why we're getting Peter on a little bit later. When's he coming on? The 22nd of August, when it'll be in full flow with this new schedule. And there's going to be more coming up. These are just the next 5. Every single week we sit down, and in the members area, there are 140 sessions already with the biggest name in the game. If you want to, EastEnders, Coronation Street, one of the best directors in soap. Mickey Jones was with us last week. Rob James Collier, star of Downton Abbey, was talking about 5 questions every actor needs to answer in order to have success this year. He's a hustler. Didn't go to drama school. He wasn't even on Spotlight for a bit. Still put himself forward, got work. We did a Table Talk episode, again, where me and Petch go off on a rant like we've done today. Aisha Bywater's 2 times BAFTA winning casting director. She was on the week before. Such a beautiful soul, amazing woman. I had an audition with her this week. Again, get on a radar, tells you how to do it in there. Voiceover Gallery, my voiceover agents. We walked through how I've earned £30,000 in voiceover since April. Again, not to brag and be a knobhead, you can do it too. Nothing special about me. Claire Bleasdale, fantastic casting director. Victor Jenkins, one of the biggest casting directors in the land. Guy Howe, great agent. I mean, every week, Hollyoaks on-set acting coach, David Crowley. 140 of these sessions in the members area, £6.75 a week. The most value-packed membership out there, full stop. Please come and get involved. If you don't understand the business of the business, let us help you get work this year and earn your Spotlight fees back. We can absolutely make it happen for you. Any comments, Petch? Or people
Some
just
comments, but one thing I want to raise first is on the equity. If you clicked into the website and you look down at the FAQs,
I've got it here. Let me share it. Yeah.
This is just one thing that if Equity are reporting this right, and we know that Equity do like to manipulate and phrase things certain ways, so I'd need to do my own research on this, but if it is correct, this is the one thing I kind of agree with. If you go down to the FAQs and go to why does Equity believe that Spotlight's fees are too high?
That one, yeah?
Yeah, down to the 3rd paragraph, the first sentence there says, further, we are aware that sometimes high-profile and well-paid artists are given free Spotlight membership, not on request, but at Spotlight's proactive discretion. I think that needs to change. I think if you are one of the high earners and you're a high-profile actor, you should definitely be paying for Spotlight, as you should be your Equity.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know who those artists are. That's definitely something like, I mean, it's a drop in the ocean. God, if you're a high profile actor, £200 a year, are you going to be bothered?
No,
absolutely not. I know a lot of actors who high profile, whose agents just pay it for them out of their own pocket. Because they're like, if you're with me, I'm going to earn a shitload of commission off you anyway, so I'll pay for your Spotlight. Don't worry about it. But yeah, if that is something, again, I'd like to know. I'd want actual proof of that, not just hearsay, not just
exactly,
I heard John Cleese get his Spotlight for free. I heard Judi Dench get Spotlight for nothing. Well, one, she doesn't even need it. There's nobody,
no one's checking her show reel anymore.
No one's looking at her headshot. She probably hasn't updated her headshot in 20 years. She doesn't need to. So yeah, I'd be interested to know who those people are. I understand why Spotlight would do it, because they can then put social media posts out saying, oh, congratulations to our Spotlight member for winning the Academy Award last night. The person who won the Academy Award probably wouldn't give a shit that they were on Spotlight. So I understand why they do it, so they can put that out, and then that entices people lower down the ladder to go, oh, well, if they're on it, I need to be on it. Great marketing. But yeah, I agree with you. We should be making these people pay their way. That's fair. But I get it why they do that.
I just wanted to put, like you say, we come on here and we give a balanced argument. Like, it's neither for or against either, but we just want to be completely open and transparent with everyone about everything that they said.
Well, I think people probably think I'm quite biased. I mean, I am. I definitely lean on this case. I lean towards Spotlight without a doubt. But we did come on here and slate Spotlight last week for putting it's not massive, but a slight increase on the fees, and we felt that was at the worst possible time. That was like tone deaf, and I would criticize Spotlight for that. But on a whole, in terms of do they add more to my career than they take away? 100%. Yeah, massively.
Grace Blackman has said, thank you both so much. This was a really intelligent perspective and it helped a lot. Food for thought.
And it is, and I want people to go away and make up their own minds. Like, please don't just think, oh, well, I just agree with Ross and Petch, and unless you really do. I just wanted to show you some more nuance to this argument. And as I say, I'm completely open to being wrong. I'm completely open to my figures being completely off. And if you go away and make calculations yourself and you drop me a message, it's at Act On This TV or at Ross A. Grant on all social media. If you're like, Ross, you're full of shit, I've done the sums, mate, and this is what Equity have actually made. They've not made 20 million quid. They've actually made
apparently,
this.
according to Alex Hewitt, Equity is on Company's House, so you can see.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, you'd be able to see, yeah, you'd roughly be able to see what their gross figures were for last year, yeah.
Adam Lee Moroz, I think I'm saying that right. Sorry if I'm not. I avoid all news and papers, so this has been extremely informative to me. Such a realistic approach.
Thank you, Adam. And I think you sent me an email last night, mate. I've seen it, and I will drop you a reply back, mate. I really appreciate it. So, yeah, I recognise your name.
NK said, they mentioned in the letter talks to Labour when they were in opposition. This feels way too extreme and politically charged. Equity
are. There's no doubt about it. I mean, my politics, I don't get involved enough, if I'm honest with you. I think we're in a very lose-lose situation right now. But there's no doubt about it that Equity absolutely lean, I feel, to almost the extreme left of politics, which is, I think, is why they take this stance. I think, generally speaking, they're not as for capitalism. They're not as for profits. And I do think there is an element where they want to spend other people's money on our Spotlight subscriptions so we can spend money on them. And that might be way off. And I'd love to talk as an adult to Equity and have them just put a rational, not emotionally charged argument to us. And I'd take it on board. I'd love it.
I'd love on one of these threes if we could get a representative from Equity and a representative from Spotlight and let them bring their case to
it'd be like the presidential debate, and we could just
well, not even like a presidential. Let's bring it back to the UK. Like the election debates.
Oh yeah, I didn't watch them, but I did see some of them actually. Yeah, where they were all stood behind the podium. They got thrown questions like by the audience and stuff. Yeah, Equity Spotlight. This is your official invite. We'll what do you call it? Moderate.
We'll moderate.
We'll moderate a completely open discussion on this, both stances. And then hopefully after it, we can just all be mates and we can get on and we can crack on and get back to that 90-year bond that Equity and Spotlight have had. And now, because there's a rift in it now, let's just be honest. It's torn, we can tape it back together, hopefully stronger than it was before. But yeah, shots have been fired. It's quite serious.
Have been fired.
Yeah.
Let's all get on. Let's hash it out, and then let's go to the pub afterwards and have a good chat.
Yeah, let's all go and have I don't drink these days, Petch, but let's all go and have a lemonade and we'll all be fine. Right, I'm going to play that. Oh, go on.
1 second. Miss Natalie Harper has said, as a trade union, Equity will always lean more towards the left, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but their level of hyperbole is undermining this argument.
Yeah, no. I think I know people always say this because they feel that it's the most unbiased opinion. They go, "Oh, I'm centre," but I see a lot of good from not extreme left or extreme right. Just I'm not all about that. Very much would be way more to the centre. I just think it's less emotional and it's more logical and it's more common sense. But I do see that there is good on the left, there is good on the right. I think we need to talk though. You can't stick your fingers in your ears if you're on the left and go the right are bad, and if you're on the right the left are bad. It leads to problems. You have to talk properly. So yeah, we just need more open discussion basically in a non-violent
Adrian
way.
Stan on Instagram has put, boys do it properly, hire a ring and give them boxing gloves.
Yeah. Or what about, do you remember Gladiators? Do you remember Gladiators? Ready? Get the pugil sticks out, and they could be on one of them things, just whacking it. I think they made a comeback. Didn't they do a new version of Gladiators recently?
Last year, I think. I didn't watch it, but apparently it was really good.
Matt Hood versus the new president of Equity. Let's get them on, having a pugil stick fight. What I'm going to do, folks, we're going to wrap it up in a second, but I mentioned Alyssa Rogers is with us for all members of actonthis.tv on Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. I've got a little trailer. For those people who don't know Alyssa, as I say, sunshine literally shines out of her face. The most positive casting director you will meet. I'm just going to take this graphic off the screen, Petch, and take us off. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of Alyssa. If you get your actonthis.tv membership, if you go to actonthis.tv, you can join us on this live Zoom call on Tuesday night. It's going to be an absolute cracker. So let me just take us off, Petch. I'll play this. Here's the trailer. Actors, the industry is looking up, and if you are looking to book more TV roles this year, I want to invite you to this week's Act On This.tv live mastermind session. It's taking place on Tuesday, the 16th of July at 7:30 p.m. on Zoom with the most positive casting director you will ever meet. Her credits include Ted Lasso, Brassic, My Friend Misty, and she's just won an Emmy for casting Netflix smash African Queens Njinga. It's legend Alyssa Rogers back on Act On This. Alyssa, tell them what we're going to be covering on Tuesday night.
We will be covering everything and anything, coming from self-tape tips, what's going on in the industry, how you can keep yourself busy, what you can do, anything about myself, how I got into this world, any questions you have are covered, as long as it's about creating creativity. And whatever your heart desires in the world of acting and films and movie and TV, everything basically.
I love it. Alyssa is like an open book. This will be the third session Alyssa has done. They're always some of the most positive sessions that we do. If you want to learn how to get on Alyssa's casting radar, audition tips, self-tape tips, getting yourself out there for the rest of 2024, making the second half of this year better than the first half of this year for you, however that has been. If you want to get involved in this, get yourself over right now to actonthis.tv/live for full details of this session and every session. We sit down every single week with the biggest casting directors, agents, actors, writers, directors, and producers in TV, the best people. So be there, actonthis.tv/live. And then Alyssa, bit of pressure. You might remember this from last time. Why don't actors want to miss this session in particular?
Oh, you don't want to miss this because I'm going to show you how you can win your next Emmy or Oscar. I got mine right here. So if you want to know how it works, you have to listen in.
I love it. If you want to be an Emmy winner, you can be an Oscar winner. You better be there. actonthis.tv/live. Boom! Go get your membership. Honestly, genuinely, for that session alone, it'll be worth it. Let's get you your spotlight fees back. Alyssa's amazing, and obviously you'll get access to the session the week after. Was it Keddy Scott we had on the week after? You get the Acts on This answer session. You get Show Real Surgery. You get access to Peter Hunt's session. I'm hoping we've got Rachel Smith, the casting assistant / associate on Waterloo Road, coming on at some point in August as well. Loads of great people are going to be coming on. So, get membership and you get access to all the stuff in the members area already, which is literally, 400 hours worth of content or something like that. Before we wrap it up, Petch, any closing comments from people?
Well, this is getting interesting with Alex. First, he says they're on Company's House. Then he's put, I can't actually find equity on there because there's loads of companies called Equity. Then he's come back and said, found equity on the Register of Charities website. And according to that, their gross income was 28.9 thousand. That doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
And then he's put, their accounts show that.
Yeah, at 50,000 members, paying a minimum of I can't remember what the minimum was, but 200 quid, 206 quid, a minimum of 206 quid a year, under 40 grand, you pay your 206 quid. That doesn't make 29,000. But if they're on a register of charities, this is what I mean. I bet they will get away with not even paying some of the corporation tax, or they'll get some kind of tax credits.
Wait, no, it's a different equity, but it's in the same building as the other equity.
Oh, forget it, Alex. Don't just get off that website, Alex. You're doing more harm than good. Right. Well, we'll get equity on anyway. They can show us the. I mean, if they're a charity, they should absolutely have transparent finances because that's what all charities have to do. So, although what they do is they go, well, I do know the CEO or whoever the top dog is. Someone told me was definitely on a 6-figure salary at equity. I'm not saying that I deserve that. I'm all for meritocracy. If you work hard and you add that value, you should get paid that. But I just want to know if that is the case, and if equity members feel. Petch, the value you add, you should get $1 million. Unfortunately, we don't earn that. If you folks all signed up for a membership, I could give Petch a pay rise. So pray for Petch. Get a membership, and I can give you some money to enjoy the weekend. But yeah, I hope you don't hate us, folks, and I just hope this has been as balanced as I could make it. Please let us know your thoughts. I would love to know where you stand on this. Leave a comment if you're watching on the replay. Leave a comment if you're here live. We will go back and check through the the comments as well. And we will be back next week, as I say, with Alyssa on Tuesday night for all members of Act On This. We will also be live on YouTube again a couple of times next week. So if you're listening on the replay or you're watching it elsewhere on the replay, come over to youtube.com/Act On This TV. Our previous live streams are there. I've got loads of interesting topics we've already talked about. And we'll bring you, the hot takes, the hot topics and developing news in the acting industry this time next week as well. Yeah, hopefully, pretty much as it breaks. That only went out yesterday, didn't it? So we're on already talking about it. But yeah, hopefully, we've informed people a bit better. And I'd love to know if you changed your mind as well.
We should be known as the guys who break the acting news, really. Like, a place to go to when it breaks. Come to Act On This and we'll discuss it.
Yeah, if we're not on another live call or like having a nervous breakdown because we've got 1,000 things to do. Apart from that, we'll definitely bring you the news as soon as we get it. Right, love to everybody. Listen, go and have an amazing weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. Really, really appreciate you being here. As I say, hopefully this has helped, and do let us know your thoughts on it. I'm very happy to have my mind changed on certain things. I think that is a superpower when you are able to hold your hands up and say, hang on a minute, no, I might have got that wrong, I've changed my mind. That's not a weakness. That's really, shows evolution. That shows you're a decent person. So if anyone wants to change my mind, please leave a comment and I will read it. Any final comments, Petch, or should we go?
People are just saying great chat. Yeah, everyone's really happy, I think.
Nice one. Fingers crossed. Well, go and have an amazing weekend, as I say, and we'll catch up with you next week. Until then, there's only one thing left to do, Petch. You know what time it is. In 3, 2, 1. Bye for now.
For now.
We could never time that right on here, can we? It works great on Zoom. Bye for now, everybody. See you in a bit.
Bye.